What is up everybody, I'm Tephrite, a top 500 Kiriko main, and today I'm going to be showing you how to counter or at least play around each ultimate as Kiriko. Kiriko is one of the strongest kits in this game, and especially for a support, and using it effectively can flip fights and even completely negate enemy ultimates. If you think I missed something or have any questions, I stream on Twitch almost every day and I'll be happy to help. All of these scenarios can be practiced in a custom game with the code NVMEE if you're not confident enough to pull them off in a game just yet. Alright, let's start with the tanks. For D.Va bomb, try to see if you can dink her whilst her bomb is cooking. Kiri has both Suzu and Swift set that can save her from the explosion, so you might be able to kill her before she remechs. As I just mentioned, you can run to a teammate that might die to the bomb and Suzu the ground, saving you both. If your Suzu is on cooldown however, Kiri gets invulnerability frames when using her Swift set, so if you time it right, you can dodge the damage, even if you're TPing to someone close to you in the vicinity of the bomb. For Doomfist, if you have Suzu up, run to your most vulnerable teammate. This could be anything from a Zenyatta to a Moira who you know has Fade on cooldown, as these will most likely be the Doomfist's target. Once there, wait for the slam to come through and use your Suzu on both of you. If you don't have it available, I'd suggest splitting from your team so that if you are the target, you can Swift step to safety. If both are on cooldown however, try to stand close to a ledge. If you're the chosen target, you can just jump off high ground and dodge the damage. Versus Mauga, you unfortunately cannot heal through the shield. If you see your teammate winning the 1v1 in the ult, run in and help him finish the job. Otherwise, I would just recommend staying outside of it, as you most likely just get yourself killed. Orisa's ult takes a few seconds to build up to enough damage to kill. When she uses her ult, wait just under 2 seconds before throwing your Suzu. This will buy you and your team enough time to walk out of the ultimate should she choose to continue charging it. Junkrat's ult applies an anti-healing buff to whoever she hits. My best advice is to wait till she applies the debuff, then aim your Suzu to try get as many players as possible. If you're the only one hit though, you can use your Swift Step to cleanse the debuff off you and save your Suzu for something else. Sadly for Roadhog, there's not too much you can do in terms of negating it. Your best bet is to try and draw attention to yourself and then TP out to try and buy time. If you see a teammate pressed up against a wall, wink wink, this is a great time to use Suzu on them. Similarly to Roadhog, when dealing with Ramattra, your best option is to try and draw attention to yourself in hopes that Ram will run away from your team, forcing his ult to disconnect from your teammates. This then will allow you to Swift step to safety. Ram's ult only stays up for a maximum of 3 seconds when disconnected, so if you're unable to draw attention away, using Suzu on his target can shrink down its duration. When it comes to Reinhardt, ult tracking is super important. When you think he has it, play away from him so when the shatter does go off, you can Suzu your team. If you are forced into playing next to your tank, if you time it correctly, when you see the animation go off, you can throw Suzu to the ground. Due to the travel time, you might get shattered, but you'll be immediately cleansed. I spoke about Sigma's ult briefly in my Season 9 Kiriko guide, but I'll go into more detail here. Firstly, no matter the scenario, never use Suzu at the beginning, as you will be pulled up no matter what. If you're caught in the ult and you're next to a wall, wait till he's about to slam you down and then use Suzu on the wall next to you to cleanse yourself. You'll know it's about to happen as you will bounce up a bit before getting slammed down. If you're not next to a wall, you can try and use your fellow teammates caught in the ult as something to trigger your Suzu. If you've been solo ulted, wait till you're about to get slammed and throw your Suzu at the floor where you land. If you time it correctly, the Suzu will pop before you hit the ground and you'll negate the slam damage. Most of these do apply whether you're caught in it or not. The only thing I would suggest is that it is safer to not aim it at the player midair and probably just aim it for the ground. When going up against an angry Winton, if you time it correctly, you can use Suzu's invulnerability to make the Winston jump straight through you, negating his damage and also his knockback. If someone is being juggled against a wall, you can throw Suzu at the wall as soon as the damage is about to hit your teammate. This could result in messing up the Winston's entire juggle. Unfortunately, you cannot TP out of grav anymore, so your best bet is Suzu. Suzu has a burst heal, so don't throw it immediately. Wait for your team to take a bit of damage, then throw it. This ult tends to buy time for grav to run out, and also for the enemy to use a cooldown like Ana Nade or Tracer's Pulse Bomb, forcing them to commit more and thus allowing you to get even more value out of the Suzu. That's everything for tanks, let's move on to DPS. Let's start with Ashe. When casted, Bob will run in a direction and stop when colliding with an enemy. If you see this about to happen, you can Suzu the player you're about to get hit by Bob so that he will run straight through them and hopefully out of the fight, or at least mess up their positioning. If you're unable to do this, worst case scenario, you can Suzu Bob's damage to buy your team time to get out of line of sight. For Bastion, I'd definitely recommend splitting from your team. If you're the target, you can TP to the furthest player to dodge the first shot and then wait for the second one to use Suzu. If you have some vulnerable teammates, TP to them and use Suzu as the second shot goes off. Since Cassidy needs to charge up his ult before shooting, if you're close to cover, you can throw a kunai, Suzu yourself, and throw more kunais as you jiggle in and out of cover. Cassidy moves a lot slower when he's ulting, so you might just be able to straight up kill him, or force him to cost or end his ult early. Echo is basically every character, so just merge it all in GG's. In Season 9, Genji's blade swings differently than previous patches, and it catches me off guard so many times. I'd recommend anticipating the first swipe and immediately using Suzu. Beforehand, you could wait a bit, but the second swing healing comes out a lot faster now. If the Genji is still on you, you can TP far away and you might have just negated majority of his ultimate. If you can, try weave in kunais through all of this and you might be able to kill him or force him to use deflect, reducing the effectiveness of his blade even more. Hanzo's is pretty basic, all you can really do is Suzu to buy your team time to get out of it. Junkrat, however, is a risky one. You can try and kill Tyre as it's coming to you and Suzu at the last second, but good Junkrats will expect this and wait for you to Suzu before detonating. This just comes down to mind games, really. Against Mei, you should try and treat her ult similarly to Orisa's. Don't Suzu immediately. Wait till your teammate is about to be frozen and then Suzu to buy as much time as possible. Pharahs tend to left click right before they use their ult for extra initial burst damage. If you can see the Pharahs coming in for one, Suzu to avoid the initial burst damage. When it comes to Reaper, there's a few telltale signs in lower ranks that he's about to use his ultimate. They tend to fade into the enemy team and then pop it. As he's coming out of his fade, try to headshot him and then immediately Suzu and go for another headshot. Accompanied with the damage of your team, this could kill him. Just make sure to swift step out of the ult after you throw your second kunai, as you might just die. Sadly, for Sojourn and Soldier, the best you can do is Suzu the target to buy time for them to get into cover. Symmetra's ult is defensive, so there's not much you can do to counter. However, remember it is a shield and you cannot heal or throw Suzu through it. Against the Torb ult, use Suzu to try and buy your team time to walk out of the comp. Lava. Versus a Tracer, Suzu can save everybody in the affected area. However, if you are stuck by Pulse Bomb and Suzu is on cooldown, you can TP away, which will drop the Suzu on the ground. However, keep in mind, your teammates are still vulnerable to this. Widow is one of the few heroes you can still 2-tap, combined with the fact that she's a scoped hero, making it even easier for you to land headshots. You can throw a kunai, use Suzu, and throw another in hopes of landing 2 headshots. Other than that, your best bet is to wait on the 15 seconds, as it's not safe to repeak unless you have a shield. DPS is finally complete, and now let's finish it off with the supports. Starting with Ana, you can't necessarily counter her ult. Versus Ana, you should actually be saving your Suzu to counter her nade or sleep. However, if she does nano boost someone melee like Reinhardt or a blading Genji, you can bait to try and waste some of the ult by dragging them away from your team, Suzuing and swift stepping out. When it comes to Baptiste, his window is stationary, so your best bet is to use Suzu on a teammate to help them get to cover and TP out. When Brig has her ult up, Brig's bash does actually stun, so your best bet is to wait till she uses it and Suzu the stunned target. When facing off against Illari, wait till she shoots and take the initial hit, then cleanse the debuff afterwards instead, as the explosion deals more damage and does AoE. Kiri's ult unfortunately is just a stim, so your best bet is to climb up onto high ground or TP away to safety. It's generally not worth wasting Suzu here unless your teammate is taking a ton of damage. Against Lifeweaver, try use his tree as cover from your opponents, but other than that, just try back up. As you're probably starting to see, most support ults are defensive, so against Zenyatta, Lucio, and Mercy, I would just say try to focus on healing to keep your team alive during these ultimates. Finally, the last on this list is Moira. I don't think it's worth wasting Suzu on your teammates unless they are also being focused by the enemy DPS, in which case you could use it to cleanse the DPS passive, but either way you're probably still best saving it until a last resort. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions or think I've missed anything, feel free to leave a comment below or ask me on Twitch. If you found this at all helpful, be sure to subscribe and share it with a fellow Kiri enjoyer. Peace.